My wife was cheating, and the person helping her? Our own daughter. That's the first thing you need to know. And in the next 90 seconds, you'll watch how a picture-perfect family went up in flames, all because of one laptop click. That night, I wasn't looking for betrayal. I just needed a file for work. But instead of PowerPoint, Reddit opened automatically. And there it was, a sentence that crushed my chest like a vice. Told my daughter about my affair partner. She's totally supportive. Supportive? Then came the photo. My 17-year-old daughter sitting next to a man I didn't recognize, smiling like he belonged. Something inside me shut down. My heart didn't break. It calcified. And in that moment, I knew her college fund just disappeared from my future. If you're a man who's ever sacrificed everything for your family, don't look away. Because the story I'm about to tell might be yours too. For 12 years, my life looked solid from the outside. 2-story house in Cedar Park, white garage door, grill on the back patio. The kind of place where neighbors wave when they walk their dogs at 6 p.m. I was the operations director for a logistics company in Austin. Early calls, late emails, spreadsheets, forecasts. Not glamorous, but it paid for braces, vacations, and that damn house. I told myself that's what a man does. He carries the weight so his family doesn't have to. Lauren was always on the road for pharma sales, conferences, dinners, client events. She'd come home with little hotel shampoos and stories about doctors I'd never meet. I didn't love the schedule, but I trusted her. I thought we were a team. Kayla was our pride piece. 17, straight-A student at Cedar Ridge High, already getting emails from good schools. I sat through every boring parent-teacher night just to hear, "You must be very proud, Mr. Marshall." I'd look at them across the dinner table and think, I've worked too damn hard for this to ever fall apart. Family is supposed to be your safe place. Until the night my laptop died. It started stupidly simple. My own laptop froze at midnight. Black screen, no sound, no warning, just gone. I had a presentation due at 8 a.m., big contract, big money. Panic hit first, not heartbreak. Lauren's laptop was sitting on the kitchen counter, right where she'd left it before flying out to another conference. Same silver case, same little scratch near the hinge. We'd always shared one password, our wedding date. I didn't think twice as I typed it in. The screen lit up. Chrome opened automatically, a mess of tabs along the top. I wasn't snooping, I just needed my slides. I moved the mouse to close the browser. Then a title stopped me. Update. Told my daughter about my affair partner. She's so supportive. My stomach dropped. Supportive? My thumb hovered over the trackpad. The kitchen suddenly felt too quiet, like the whole house was holding its breath with me. This had to be some random stranger's drama, right? My heart started pounding in my ears. That tiny voice in my head said, "Don't do it." Cold clarity drowned it out. I clicked on the username, LivingAuthentic247. The post opened and my brain tried to tell me it was someone else. Some other Lauren, some other 17-year-old daughter. But line after line, it was my life in her words. She wrote about almost a year of an affair with a sales rep she met at conferences, about how her husband was stable but boring, emotionally unavailable, just a placeholder who paid the bills. Then I hit the part about Kayla, how she'd finally opened up to her daughter, how Kayla was so mature, how she understands women deserve happiness, how she'd been supportive of the affair, how they'd even gone to dinner together with him, and it felt like a real family. I just sat there, staring at my wife bragging to strangers about burning our marriage down, and dragging my kid into it. My chest felt tight, but not like a heart attack, more like something tearing sideways. Comments underneath called her brave, authentic, inspiring, unbelievable. Reading it wasn't enough, I needed to see it. My hand moved on its own as I clicked over to her photos, her iCloud library, synced to everything. Her photo library exploded across the screen. At first it was harmless stuff, old Christmas mornings, birthday cakes, Kayla in a soccer uniform. Then the timeline shifted. The lighting changed. New dresses I'd never seen, restaurants I'd never been to. There they were at the Oasis on Lake Travis. Lauren pressed up against some guy I now knew was Derek, his arm around her shoulders like he owned her. On the other side of the table, Kayla, my daughter. Phone in hand, smiling like this was the most normal thing in the world. Next shot, Papados. Same three faces, different clothes, same energy. Then a selfie Kayla took at Domain Northside, shopping bags in their hands. Caption, best night with my favorite people. My favorite people, not dad, not once. I started matching timestamps in my head. Every Hazel study night, every late shift at the boutique, every conference dinner for Lauren. The puzzle snapped into place, and it was all built on my dime. And then I saw the folder. Lauren in lingerie I had never seen, in a hotel room I'd never stayed in, labeled with our wedding anniversary date. After the lingerie photos, I told myself to stop. Instead, I opened her messages. Curiosity is a slow kind of suicide. At the top was a pinned thread. Lauren and Kayla. I tapped it. Mom, just say it's a late client dinner. Dad won't know. He never notices anything anyway. Then Kayla again. Pick that steak place downtown. He'll just order takeout and work like a good little doormat. Doormat. From my own daughter. More messages, week after week. Text me when you're with Derek so I can distract him. I'll say I'm at Hazel's. He won't question it. He's clueless. Wear that black dress. He loves it. They weren't just covering for the affair. They were running plays on me, running a system. Something flipped in me right there. I stopped reading like a hurt husband and started reading like a man building a file. I plugged in a USB and quietly downloaded everything. Reddit posts, photos, screenshots of that thread. Then I opened a new window, logged into our online banking, and pulled up 9 months of statements. If they were going to use my life to fund their fantasy, I was going to see exactly what it cost. You want the truth? Forget words. Follow the money. It never lies. The statements were a highlight reel of their fun. Every Thursday night, high-end restaurants in Austin, steakhouses, rooftop spots, places you book, not grab something quick after work. The same price range, the same neighborhoods, the same pattern. Then came the extras. Charges at lingerie stores, upscale boutiques at Domain Northside, jewelry stores I had never stepped into. None of it anywhere near Christmas, birthdays, or our anniversary. Just random dates that lined up with late meetings and Hazel study nights. I pulled up Lauren's shared work calendar in another tab. Her conference dates never quite matched the flights and hotels. She was always leaving a day early, coming back a day late, staying at nicer hotels than the official venue. Next, I checked our cell phone records. One number showed up over and over, usually after 10 at night. Long calls, sometimes every day for a week. Dallas area code. I went to a reverse lookup site, typed it in, paid the fee. The name popped up. Derek Malone, BioCore Solutions, Dallas. A competitor in the same industry. I felt everything inside me go very quiet. I did not rage. I went cold. The next morning I treated it like work, not a marriage. A problem to be solved. I printed every bank statement, every credit card bill. Highlighted the Thursday dinners, the hotel charges that didn't match her official conference hotels, the lingerie and jewelry that appeared out of nowhere. Then I pulled our phone records, printed those too. Yellow highlighter over every late-night Dallas number. I took a ruler and started building a timeline on paper. Conference dates in one column, charges and calls in another, photos and Reddit posts in a third. That Aspen strategy retreat she swore was mandatory? The hotel website called it a couple's ski escape. The dates matched Derek's expense reports that I could see on his public LinkedIn bragging. Cute. By the time I stepped into the family law attorney's office, I wasn't a confused husband anymore. I was a man carrying a 3-inch stack of proof. He went through it slowly, page by page, asking a few short questions. Then he leaned back, looked me in the eye, and said, "You have an airtight case. Affair, financial misconduct, documented deception. She has no leverage here." That was the turning point. I walked out knowing I wasn't begging anyone for anything ever again. You only get one good shot at a confrontation like this. I wanted them both in the same room. No running, no pretending. Thursday afternoon, I texted Kayla, "Come straight home after your shift. Family dinner. Need to talk." No explanation. just enough to make her show up. I cooked. Nothing fancy, just real food on actual plates. It felt almost fake, setting the table like we were still a normal family. But that was the point. Let them walk into something that looked familiar before I ripped the floor out. Lauren came in first, dropping her keys like always. The second she saw the table set, her face went a shade lighter. She knew. Cheaters always do. Kayla walked in a little later, eyes narrowed, phone in her hand like a shield. "What's going on?" she asked. I didn't answer. I sat down, pulled out my phone, opened Reddit, logged into Living Authentic 247, and set it face up in the middle of the table between the plates. Silence. Just the hum of the fridge and their breathing. I looked at both of them and finally said, calm and clear, "So, I found your Reddit." Lauren stared at the phone like it was a gun on the table. Her fork froze halfway to her mouth. No one touched the food. She finally whispered, "You had no right to go through my things." I almost laughed. "Your public Reddit account? With pictures? That you posted for strangers? That is not private, Lauren." Kayla leaned forward, eyes hard. "How long have you been spying on Mom?" "Spying?" I said. "You two documented everything. I just opened a laptop." I turned the screen toward them, scrolled. Affair timelines, conference hookups, posts about how liberating it felt. Then the part about Kayla being supportive. "You used our daughter as your backup dancer," I said quietly. "You made her part of this," Kayla snapped. "She deserves to be happy. You're just there. You don't even see her." There it was. The truth. Lauren squared her shoulders like she was finally done pretending. "Fine. You want honesty? I am in love with Derek. He is everything you will never be." I held her stare. "He's a compliance nightmare in my industry. That is what he is." Then I felt something settle in me. "Get out," I said. "Both of you." And for the first time that night, they believed me. For a second, they just sat there like the words had bounced off the walls instead of hitting them. Kayla was the first to move. She pushed her chair back, metal legs scraping the tile. "You're kicking us out?" She actually laughed. "You'll die alone." "Maybe," I said, "but I won't be lied to in my own house." Lauren stood up slower, anger catching up to fear. "We don't need you, Evan. Derek will take care of us. He's been asking me to leave you for months." "Great," I said. "Then go, right now. Take whatever you came in with." Kayla rolled her eyes, grabbed her phone. "You're a bitter loser," she said. "Mom finally chose happiness and you can't handle it." I didn't raise my voice. "Keys, garage opener, leave them on the counter." Lauren slammed hers down. Kayla followed, jaw tight. There was a lot of stomping and slammed drawers, but not much packing. People who think they are in control never plan for the floor to vanish. The front door slammed so hard the frames rattled. Then it was just me, the table, and the quiet. The hurt was there, but it was behind glass now. I wasn't a husband begging anymore. By the time the echo faded, I already knew what tomorrow would be about. Not feelings. Moves. The next morning, I was parked in front of the bank at 8:10, waiting for them to unlock the doors. No screaming, no crying, just a list in my pocket and a pen. At 8:15, I sat across from the same banker who'd watched me deposit every bonus for years. "I need to move some funds," I said. First stop was the 529, 17 years of contributions, about 198 grand sitting there with Kayla's name on it. On paper, anyway. In reality, my account, my deposits, my signature. After taxes and penalties, it dropped to around 170. Still more than enough to change someone's life. Just not hers. Next, I pulled $37,000 from our joint savings, the exact total of my last 3 bonuses, the money they used to wine and dine Derek. It went straight into a new personal account in just my name. I changed my direct deposit to that account, canceled the joint credit cards where I was the primary, called HR at work and removed Lauren from my health and life insurance. Emergency contact changed from her to my friend Grant. People love to say, love conquers all. No, money does. And I had just shut off every valve. Actions have consequences. Once the money moved, I went for the wires that actually keep a house alive. I called the internet provider, cable company, electric, water, gas. Every single account was under my name. I gave them a shut-off date a few days out. Enough time to get my things, not enough time for Lauren to get comfortable. Then I walked through the house with boxes. I took what was mine, my tools, the good pans I paid for, the decent furniture, the television, the gym equipment in the garage. I left her the hand-me-down junk from her mother and whatever decor she cared more about than her vows. That afternoon, I signed a lease on a 2-bedroom apartment across town. No memories in the walls, no ghosts in the hallway, just beige paint, empty rooms, and a set of keys that were mine alone. That night, I lay on an air mattress in the middle of the living room with my clothes in a duffel bag and my phone charging on the floor. No pictures on the walls, no footsteps upstairs, no slammed doors. And here is the part nobody tells you. I slept better on that cheap plastic mattress than I had in my king-sized bed in months. It did not feel like losing a home. It felt like a fresh start. It did not take long for the silence to crack. A couple of days after I moved into the apartment, my phone lit up with a number I did not recognize. I let it ring out once. Second time I picked up. "Evan, it's me," Lauren said. Her voice sounded smaller, raw around the edges. "Derek won't let us stay. He says it's too much, too fast. We need to come back." There it was. The safety net they were so sure they had. Gone. "No," I said. "Just that." She sucked in a breath like I had hit her. "What about Kayla? She's your daughter." "Was my daughter," I said. "She made her choice. With you. With him." There was a long pause on the line. I could hear traffic, a car door slamming somewhere in the background, her breathing getting shaky. Then the begging started. Short, panicked, messy. I did not argue. I did not explain. I hung up, blocked the number, and set the phone face down on the table. You cannot set yourself on fire to keep people warm who handed you the matches. They wanted to build a life without me. Now they had one. That Monday, I went back to the attorney's office with my folder and a different kind of calm. Not numb this time. Decided. We sat across from each other while he filled in the last details. Grounds. Irreconcilable differences. Evidence. Already stacked and indexed. No dramatic accusations. No courtroom speeches. Just boxes checked, lines signed. Lauren worked, so there would be no alimony. Assets would split along state guidelines, but most of what mattered was already protected or documented as mine. Kayla was 17, months from 18. No custody fight. That bridge had already burned. When it was done, he slid the papers over. "Once this is filed, you're on a straight path out," he said. I signed. My name looked different to me on that page. Heavier, freer. On the drive back, I passed my office tower and felt my stomach turn. I had spent years bending over backward for a company while my home quietly rotted. For what? A title and a paycheck tied to an empty house. That night, I typed up a 2-week notice and an outline for a consulting business. If I was rebuilding my life, I was not doing it halfway. Once the divorce papers were in motion, there was still one thing gnawing at me. Not the cheating, not even the disrespect. It was the fact that Lauren had dragged my name and my industry into her little fantasy with a competitor's rep. That crossed a different line. So I stopped thinking like a husband and thought like an operations director again. I called BioCore's compliance hotline from a prepaid phone. Calm voice, no drama. "I'm a concerned party," I said. "You might want to look at one of your reps, a guy named Derek Malone. He's been in a relationship with a pharma rep from a competing company. There may be information crossing lines. Check his travel, his expenses, and any sudden jumps in his intel around these conference dates." Then I hung up and went to work on email. 2 anonymous accounts, one to Lauren's HR, one to BioCore's HR. Screenshots of her Reddit posts attached. Clear references to conferences, dates, hotels, and how amazing it was having this deep connection with a competitor's rep. I did not accuse anyone of a crime. I just shined a light on the mess they made. You do not mess with a man's legacy and expect him to stay quiet. And once compliance smells liability, the wheel starts turning fast. In pharma and biotech sales, the world is smaller than people think. Word moves faster than any email. A couple of weeks later, my buddy Grant called me after a conference. "You lit a fire," he said. "People are talking." He told me Lauren and Derek had been spotted together at past events, a little too cozy for comfort. Nobody cared at first. Sales is a dirty game. Everyone flirts. But now, With screenshots circulating off the record, the story changed. Clients started asking for different reps. Nobody wanted their accounts tied to a woman whose affair with a competitor was being dissected on Reddit. Derek's name came up in the same breath as leaks, intel, and compliance review. HR at both companies had pulled their emails and expense reports. Trips that were billed as client development did not have any real clients attached. Hotel stays did not match official conference blocks. Meal receipts lined up a bit too perfectly with Lauren's online storytelling. In our line of work, perception becomes reality long before the investigation finishes. Grant lowered his voice. Lauren got called into a closed-door meeting yesterday. HR, her manager, and someone from legal. The walls she thought would protect her were suddenly very interested in what and who she had been doing. I did not hear from Lauren directly. I heard from the grapevine. That is how this world works. Grant called after another regional meeting. They're saying it's performance issues, he said, but everybody knows it's the scandal. First, they pulled a couple of her key accounts. Clients requested a different rep. Then coworkers stopped looping her into calls. The easy laughs in hallways went quiet when she walked by. In sales, being iced out is the first sign the ship is done with you. Then someone in IT leaked what HR had found in her email. Screenshots of those Reddit posts had been forwarded around off the record. The same words she used to chase validation from strangers were now sitting in her boss's folder with her name on them. They put her on a performance improvement plan. On paper, that is a second chance. In reality, it is a countdown. Miss one target. Show one bit of attitude. Slip once on numbers already rigged against you. Grant texted me a week later. They walked her out today, box in her hands, no goodbye email. 12 years of climbing that ladder, gone in one quiet escort to the parking lot, and that was just one half of the happy little couple. Derek's drop was not loud either. It was surgical. Grant knew a guy inside BioCore who liked to talk after a few drinks. Word was, Derek's territory got sliced up overnight. His biggest accounts reassigned, his travel budgets cut to the bone. Then compliance flagged his expense reports. Hotel stays that did not match official conference lists. Dinners with clients no one could identify. Flights that somehow lined up a little too perfectly with Lauren's conference stories. On paper, nobody accused him of sleeping with a competitor's rep. Corporations do not like that mess in writing. But behind closed doors, they saw him as a risk, a liability with a charming smile and poor judgment. They did not fire him. That would have been too clean. They just rebuilt his role into something miserable. Smaller patch, dead accounts, no bonus structure worth mentioning. Every move second-guessed, every receipt scrutinized. Guys like Derek live on ego and commission. You starve both, they eventually walk themselves out. Last I heard, he resigned to pursue other opportunities. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Lauren had bet her marriage, her kids' future, and her reputation on that man, and he was already slipping out the back door, looking for his next reset. Grant was the one who told me how that fairy tale finally snapped. Derek, the man Lauren blew up our family for, suddenly needed space. That was the phrase. Not "I'm sorry," not "this went too far." Just the same line guys like him always use when the fun turns into responsibility. No job, no house, no safety net. Mortgage payments came due on a single retail paycheck. Bills stacked up, utilities started sending red notices. Kayla was working shifts and going to community college, but that barely covered gas and textbooks. My phone started lighting up again. Unknown numbers, voicemail after voicemail. "Evan, can we just talk? We made mistakes, but Kayla needs her father." I let most of them ring. The few I did answer ended quickly. "No, handle it yourselves." Click. Not yelling. No insults. Just a door that stayed shut. They chose to build a life without me. They made it very clear they did not need me. So when Derek stepped off the ride and left them standing there alone, I didn't rush in with a safety net. Not my house, not my mess, not my problem anymore. There was still a little time before the utilities shut off and the bank finished what was left of the house, so I took Grant and went back one last time. The place felt smaller, quieter, like someone had already started erasing us from the walls. We moved room to room. I grabbed a few tools I had missed, an old box of photos I actually wanted, some paperwork from the office. Anything that was clearly mine went into the truck. The rest stayed. Lauren's clothes still hung in the closet, her perfume bottles lined up on the dresser. I did not touch any of it. She chose this path. She could deal with packing it on whatever timeline the bank allowed. On the kitchen counter, a fat envelope from the mortgage company sat half open, payment demand in bold. I slid it so it was front and center, a reminder that reality always shows up, whether you open the door for it or not. In Kayla's room, I found a stack of college acceptance letters and scholarship offers on her desk. Good schools, real opportunities. I did not take them. I laid them neatly on her pillow. Actions have consequences. Opportunities do too. On the way out, I turned off the lights, stepped outside, and pulled the door closed behind me. This time, it felt final. The funny thing about consequences is people only really believe in them when they hit someone else. About a week after that last walk through the house, my phone lit up again with another unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, then another, same area code. Finally, I answered. "Evan, it's me," Lauren said. Her voice sounded like sandpaper. "We just need a place to stay, just a few weeks until I get back on my feet." "No," I said. She rushed in behind it. "We have nowhere. The apartment fell through, the bank keeps calling. Please, just until I figure something out." "This is not my problem," I told her. "What about Kayla? You really want your daughter sleeping on a couch somewhere?" "She made her choice," I said. "For a year, she helped you lie to me, supported you, mocked me. You both said you didn't need me. I'm just giving you what you asked for." There was nothing left for her to say that I hadn't already heard in a softer version before. I hung up. Blocked the number. That was the last time they tried to come back through my door. While they were scrambling for couches and cheap rentals, the machine I had nudged was still grinding forward. Compliance at both companies did what compliance does once someone whispers intel leak. They started pulling threads. They lined up Derek's reports next to conference calendars. Funny thing, his competitive insights always seemed to sharpen right after certain events Lauren bragged about online. They dug into hotel receipts. A couple of stays were nowhere near the official conference hotels. They flagged dinners with no client names, no meeting notes, just vague descriptions and big tabs. Suddenly, Derek was not top-producing charmer anymore. He was potential liability, a walking question mark with too much access and too little discipline. The big accounts he loved to brag about, slowly reassigned. First one, then another. Official reason, strategic restructuring. Real reason, nobody wants a rep who might be talking too much to the wrong pillow. Grant called one night. "You remember that Dallas number you showed me?" he said. "Yeah. Most of Derek's book of business? Gone. He's radioactive." Cold clarity had finally come for them, too. The difference was, I had already built my exit. They were just now realizing they were standing on a trap door. I did not see the foreclosure notice in person. I heard about it the same way I heard everything else. Sideways. Grant drove by the old place on his way home from work one day and called me. "Bank's got a sign in the yard," he said. "Notice taped to the door." Lauren's retail paycheck was never going to touch that mortgage. Kayla working part-time and going to community college might have kept gas in the car, but it was not going to save a 3-bedroom in Cedar Park. The letters from the bank turned into warnings, and the warnings turned into deadlines. Eventually, deadlines turn into action. That is how the system works. They moved into some small apartment across town, a place with thin walls and no yard, the kind of place she used to swear she would never live in again. That house had been my finish line for years, proof that I had done the right things, worked late, took the calls, missed the games. I thought it meant we were safe. Seeing it go under without me there to fight for it was strangely clean. The home I thought I was protecting had died a long time before the bank took the deed. Now the paperwork just caught up. While their world kept shrinking, mine did something I did not expect. It got quieter, but better. Leaving the company felt risky on paper. Steady salary, health insurance, a title on LinkedIn. Men my age cling to those like life rafts. But for years that place had been sucking up every ounce of energy I had while my life at home rotted behind my back. Consulting was different. I chose my clients. I chose my hours. I got paid for solving problems instead of sitting in meetings so someone else could look busy. The money turned out better than I thought. The politics disappeared almost overnight. My days were full, but not frantic. I would close the laptop in the evening, cook myself a simple dinner in that quiet little apartment kitchen, and actually taste the food. No one walking past me with a suitcase. No teenager slamming doors. No feeling like a ghost at my own table. For the first time in a long time, I would sit on the couch after a day's work and not feel drained, just settled. Peace did not show up with fireworks. It came in small, boring moments that did not hurt. That was when it hit me. I was not just surviving anymore. I was living again. I was not looking for anyone. I went to that networking event at the Austin Convention Center for exactly 2 reasons: free coffee and potential clients. That was it. I was standing near the back, nursing a bad cup, when a woman next to me muttered, "Whoever brewed this hates people." I laughed before I could stop myself. That was Rachel Avery. She worked for a nonprofit that built education programs for underprivileged kids. Not sales, not pharma, not my world at all. She had been divorced for 3 years. 1 daughter, Maddie. We started talking, and for the first time in a long time, I noticed how it felt when a conversation did not have an agenda. She asked what I did, actually listened, then told me about trying to get robotics kits into low-income schools. No flirting, no performance. Just 2 tired adults who had been through some things, standing by a bad coffee urn. When the event wound down, there was a small pause, the kind of moment you either let die or step into. "Look," I said, "I know a couple of logistics angles that could help your program. Want to grab coffee this weekend? Talk it through?" She smiled. "Yeah, I'd like that." It did not feel like a rebound. It felt like the first page of a new chapter. A few weeks later, I had dinner at Rachel's place. Just the 3 of us. Nothing fancy. Spaghetti, salad, a bottle of store-brand sauce on the counter. The kind of normal I had not realized I missed. Maddie was 16. First thing she did when I walked in was look me in the eye, say, "Hi, Mr. Marshall, nice to meet you," and hold out her hand. No eye roll, no phone glued to her face. Just basic respect. It almost threw me. During dinner, she asked me what logistics consulting actually was, and when I answered, she followed up with real questions. Not pretending to care, not angling for anything. She told me about her high school robotics team, about staying late to work on code, about how Rachel worked extra shifts so she could travel to competitions. When the meal was over, I automatically started stacking plates. Maddie was already on her feet next to me, running the sink. "You cooked, we clean," she said to her mom, like it was normal. There was no performance in that small kitchen. No fake laughter. No secret text threads tearing someone down in the next room. Sitting at that table, watching a teenager thank her mother for dinner instead of mocking her father behind his back, I realized something simple and brutal. This is what a healthy family is supposed to look like. 4 months after that first bad coffee and easy conversation, the talk about what are we turned into boxes in a truck. Not rushed, not desperate, just the next right step. Rachel and I found a modest place that made sense for all 3 of us. 2 bedrooms for them, an office that doubled as my space when I needed quiet. The first weekend, Maddie claimed her room and went to work. Posters, string lights, shelves for trophies and robot parts. Watching her build a space she felt safe in, I realized I was doing the same thing, just on the inside. Dinner became a habit, not an event. Tuesdays meant pasta. Fridays were burgers or cheap tacos. Phones stayed off the table. People actually asked about each other's day and waited for the answer. Sometimes I would catch myself looking around that table, at Rachel laughing about something stupid at work, at Maddie ranting about a coding bug, and feel this low, steady warmth in my chest. I was not a placeholder here. I was part of it. One night I caught myself saying, "Let's just eat at home." And it hit me. This was home. I had finally taken my life back. The past did not stay completely quiet. It never does. Grant called me one afternoon on his drive home. "You want the unofficial update?" he asked. Lauren was working retail now, not sales with a big car allowance and travel budgets, just folding clothes on a concrete floor out at some strip mall, dealing with coupons and returns. The shine was gone. The industry had moved on. Kayla was enrolled at community college, taking classes when she was not working full-time at Target. No dorms, no big campus, no out-of-state dream, just fluorescent lights, name tags, and night classes. As for Derek, he had skipped town. sold the nice car, took some low-level job in another state, trying to rebuild where people did not know his name. Grant paused. You okay hearing this? Yeah, I said. And I was. There was no rush of satisfaction, no urge to swoop in, no fantasy of some big speech. I just listened, looked around my quiet, steady apartment, and felt nothing that pulled me backward. Not my circus, I said. Not my monkeys. The old story was still out there, limping along without me. I chose to leave it exactly where it was. I thought that chapter was over. Then, one Friday night around 9, there was a knock at the apartment door. Not the sharp knock of a delivery guy. Soft. Hesitant. I opened it, and there she was. Kayla. She looked smaller. Thinner. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back like she had given up trying. Community college backpack on one shoulder, Target name tag still clipped to her shirt. Dad, she said, voice already shaking. I'm sorry. For a second, something twisted in my chest. 17 years of instinct does not just vanish. But I remembered the messages, the laughs, the word doormat. You made a choice, I said, calm, flat. She started talking fast. Rent behind, mom struggling, student loans denied. I just need help with tuition this semester. Just this once. Please, I'm trying. Rachel had come to stand quietly behind me. She did not say a word, just laid a hand on my shoulder. No pressure, just presence. I looked Kayla in the eye. I'm not paying, I said. You helped burn that bridge. You don't get to walk back over it now because the ground is hot. Her face crumpled. The old me would have folded right there. This version did not. The apology died quick. Anger took its place. It runs in that bloodline. So that's it? Kayla snapped. You just replaced us? No, I said. I moved on. Her eyes flicked past me into the apartment. She saw Rachel in the background, saw a glimpse of the kitchen, the table, 2 plates drying on the rack, a life that did not include her. I'm your daughter, she said, like that was a legal contract. I'm your blood. Blood isn't everything, I answered. Respect is. Loyalty is. You had both and you cashed them in for a front row seat to your mom's affair. You called me a loser, a doormat. You told me you didn't need me. This, I gestured between us, is what not needing me looks like. Her eyes filled, then hardened. You're cruel. No, I said. I'm done. There was nothing else to talk about. I stepped back. Good night, Kayla. I closed the door. Not a slam, just a firm, final shut. Rachel watched me for a second. You okay? She asked quietly. I let out a slow breath I felt like I had been holding for a year and a half. Yeah, I said. Never been better. A few months after that night at the door, life had settled into something steady. Then Maddie came home waving a letter like it was on fire. She had gotten into an MIT summer robotics program. Not some weekend camp, the real thing. Labs, mentors, a pipeline into serious schools. She tried to play it cool, but her hands were shaking when she handed me the letter. Later that night, after she went to her room, I heard Rachel at the kitchen table, calculator out, talking to herself. Travel, housing, fees. She was not complaining, not fishing, just quietly trying to make the numbers work on nonprofit pay and a single mom budget. She looked up and said, I'll figure it out. She deserves this. That was when my mind went someplace I had been avoiding. The old 529, the one I had emptied out of Kayla's account and parked. $170,000 sitting there, earning quietly. Money I had planned for a daughter who chose to help blow our life apart. The thought came in clean and cold. What if that fund did not die with blood? What if it became legacy instead? That idea did not leave. It sat there, heavy, so I did what I always do when something will not shut up in my head. I pulled out the evidence. One night, after Rachel and Maddie had gone to bed, I opened an old folder on my laptop. Pictures from the Oasis on Lake Travis, domain shopping trips, the selfies Kayla took of Lauren and Derek, all smiles and inside jokes, while I was at home paying for their night out. I read the captions again. Best night with my favorite people. I remembered the texts. Loser. Doormat. He'll never know. Then I looked around my current life. At breakfast, Maddie thanked me for driving her to school. Not in some fake, sugary way, just matter-of-fact respect. When something broke in her code, she stayed up late fixing it instead of blaming the world. Rachel never once asked me for $1. She did not use tears as leverage. If anything, she tried to carry too much on her own shoulders. I realized I was not comparing daughters. I was weighing behavior. Blood is an accident, character is earned. And sitting there between those two sets of memories, I started leaning hard toward one truth. Opportunity should go to the person who proves they deserve it. I did not move a cent right away. I sat at the kitchen table one night with a legal pad and drew a line down the middle. On one side I wrote, "Give Maddie the fund." On the other, "Leave it alone." Under Maddie's side, works her tail off, respects people, never once used me, never once used her mother. Under the other, guilt, what people might say, that old voice in my head whispering, "She's not your real daughter." I stared at it for a while, then called Grant. If anyone was going to tell me I was crazy, it would be him. I laid it all out. Maddie, the MIT program, the 170 grand sitting still. He was quiet for a long second. "Most guys would feel guilty," he finally said, "cutting off their own kid and helping a stepkid instead." "Yeah," I answered. "Most guys also keep rewarding the people who spit on them. Actions have consequences." "That's what this is for you?" "I spent my whole life building something," I said. "A career, a name, a sense of who I am. I'm not going to torch my principles because I'm afraid of looking bad from the outside." For once, guilt did not get the final vote. Principle did. Even with the pros and cons on paper, I still had to answer one question for myself. What does family mean now? I sat there in the dark living room, listing it out in my head. Blood versus behavior. Belonging versus betrayal. Respect versus entitlement. When Kayla showed up at my door that second time, she did not come to rebuild a relationship. She came for money, leading with, "I'm your daughter," like it was a key to a vault. No ownership, no real remorse, just expectation. Maddie, on the other hand, never once asked for anything beyond time and attention. When something went wrong, she owned it. When something went right, she shared the credit with her mom, her team, her mentors. Then there were the two knocks. Kayla's first, all venom, "You'll die alone." Her second, panic, followed by blame when I did not cave. I realized I was not punishing her by saying no. I was finally believing her when she showed me who she was willing to be. In the end, the answer was simple enough to write in one line. Family is not who shares your blood. Family is who shows up and does not burn you for it. Once I accepted that, the decision stopped feeling complicated. I was ready to act. Once I was done arguing with myself, the actual mechanics were simple. Cold, clean, numbers on a screen. I called my advisor and told him I wanted to open a new 529. "Beneficiary?" he asked. "Maddie Avery," I said. Saying it out loud felt like crossing a line and drawing a new one at the same time. We set it up properly. Long-term structure. The same way I had built Kayla's, except this time I was not doing it on blind faith. I laid out conditions in my own head, and later on paper, grades, effort, attitude, basic respect. Not perfection, just proof she was still the same kid who rinsed dishes without being asked and owned her mistakes. Earn it, keep it. That was the rule. When the time came to move the money, I sat at my desk, read through the transfer one last time, and thought about where it had started and where it was going. 17 years of sacrifice, betrayal, and finally clarity, all boiled down into one choice. I clicked confirm and signed the authorization. Right there, I stopped letting blood dictate my legacy. I did not want Rachel to find out by accident or from a line on some bank statement. So one night after dinner, when Maddie had gone to her room to study, I poured us both a cup of coffee and told her we needed to talk. I started at the beginning, the original 529, how I had built it for Kayla from the day she was born, how I liquidated it the week I kicked Lauren and her out, how that money had been sitting in investments ever since, untouched, waiting for me to decide what it was really for. Then I told her about the new account, in Maddie's name, not as a handout, not as a prize for liking me, but as a commitment tied to who she has shown herself to be, her work ethic, her respect, the way she treats people. Rachel's eyes filled, but she did not argue, did not say, "You shouldn't." She just shook her head and said, "I never expected that from you, or from anyone." "This is our new chapter," I said. "Our rules, our family." She stepped forward and hugged me in that small, warm kitchen, and for once, everything about it felt earned. A couple of nights after talking with Rachel, we sat Maddie down at the table after dinner, plates pushed aside, just water glasses and a knot in my chest. "I want to talk to you about college," I said. Her eyes tightened a little, like she was bracing for bad news. I told her about the fund. Not all the ugly history, just the facts. There was money I had saved for a daughter for a long time, that I had decided to put it in her name now, not as charity, but as an investment in who she had already shown she was. Then I laid out the conditions. Keep your GPA up, stay committed to robotics, do some kind of volunteer work so you remember where you came from. Treat people with respect, including yourself. She sat there, quiet for a moment, then said, "I'll earn every dollar." No drama. No "I deserve it." Just that. We had a simple celebration that night. Store-bought cake, cheap sparkling cider, bad paper plates. Halfway through, she wiped her eyes and said, "Thank you, sir," in a shaky voice. For the first time in this whole mess, peace felt earned, not borrowed. Not long after that, the past tried one more time to sneak in through the side door. I was clearing the table after another ordinary dinner with Rachel and Maddie, their laughter still floating out of the kitchen, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. The message was short. "Can we talk? Just one chance to explain. Please." No name. It did not need one. You can feel certain voices through text. For a long moment, I just stared at it. A year and a half ago, that kind of message would have blown my chest open. Tonight, all it did was remind me how far away that version of my life was. I did not reply. I did not block it in a dramatic flourish. I just set the phone face down on the counter and walked back to the table. Rachel was telling a story about her day. Maddie was arguing about some robot design. There was a chair with my place at it, food still warm, conversation waiting. I sat down, picked up my fork, and joined them. I was not angry anymore. I was just done. So here is where it all lands. I lost a wife and a daughter in one click on a laptop screen. I watched my old house go under, my old life burn down. And for a long time I thought that meant I had failed as a husband and a father. But the truth is simpler and a lot colder. Blood does not erase consequences. Family is not a title you get by accident of birth. Family is what you do, every single day, when no one is watching. Lauren chose drama over loyalty. Kayla chose betrayal over respect. Maddie and Rachel chose to show up, to build, to stand beside me without using me. Respect comes before DNA. Legacy is bigger than guilt. Legacy beats drama. Every time. So now I am asking you, man to man, if you were in my shoes, who should that college fund truly belong to? The blood daughter who helped light the match, or the girl who helped me build a new home from the ashes? Call it. Option 1 or option 2. Drop it in the comments, subscribe if you want more real stories like this, and tell me, what does family mean to you now?